going to read two newish poems that haven't been published yet. They're both love poems. The first one starts off fairly satirically and then becomes a love poem, and the second one just starts off that way. A Crock Reverie. In the Great Jack, shit beyond ice, cubes are your whopper, and precisely your cup of tea, slug repellent empty, so hot-footed to the vanishing prom night, kicks up a storm of pageant radiance to the bunting, scrapes around to knock up a body between us by carbon trading, mumbles around, resolved happier to slug it out, heating oven becomes cat, and roll over to rip off the curtain and drear facade of vanishing, sprint to the shop beyond, instantly becomes fruit stand, buys you a smoothie, on the curtains, double devolving click track become comically iridescent, inevitable cloud eked out double ring dust cluster type of toe dance, beyond reason, for 7p, for coupon redemption, for you, just take it. Black as night air ditch, vertical and billowy in glowing terms, in seraphic streamers over the Merkveld, its lead-lined glass jaw encrypted to the notarization date using a hash algorithm, the static charge air dance peaking to 3 kV, and a pulmonary surge out the rent face sides places a 10 megaohm resistor across a 200 pf body capacitance to leap the fiery gulf from nerve to nerve and discharge into the scorched earth, spinning like double critical top dog walking. 2020 in the mystery Ray-Bans, torn by blasts of sunlight, out of reach, floating in the Boots baby water seat for the eternal haul, and when, tonight, dead to the world and ready to die, not for the world, but for negation, you self-tap through the puzzling mirror, I'll-build theory, screw the world, stupid, countersunk down in blank transcendence, you thoughtfully pre-drilled cloudy head. Buck up the first things, second nature habituation baggage lack in the new colander, off to the curtain down in flames, and third eye steady through the reflective blowhole into the night sky in ascending order of elation, smoked out or knocked up and traced the flag from out the curtain. Replace the tongue mirage. Have you tried fairy power spray deep into the marrow of being on the fruit stand, or fairy active foam, its puzzling reflection seen face to face in face, rent up two face sides flapping on each flank curtain head? Your particularity dissolved like the national question for Amiri Baraka by Leninism. We want poems that resurrect the cop section stands minus island in the UK. And humiliating climb down later that night, the escape coupons are under the ashtray in the glass divide next to the house keys by the hanging, relentlessly ectopic, strung up trampoline enclosure netting number H, a bird in room, elaborate foam Lord Goldsmith on your pillow, toothbrush end in my heart because Sue Tin dropped word limit to a faint clam opening in the Goethe house and wishing away your bivalve containment pearl. That clam, pearl, that clam alone really misaligns the pre-soak. And that clam wrecks the generic sachets with Net Pharmacy Octafast mission statement, generic sachets with pinprick light through it, out from the Ian Blair Erasmus split-screen face, deluxe on the pillow howling mercenary baby talk, the coupons flicked under the ashtray in the glassy forecourt by the hanger concealing the car keys. A porcupine is talking inside. Pretend to pull the rope that opens a theatre curtain. A cat on its hind legs waltzes into the ribcage and up to the trade counter, but it's you alone who can bring Parliament into modern times, and likewise the Goethe house. Cruising the furniture of thought in there, and you alone doing it, is what can begin to invest contemporary relevance in it, and Parliament into it is the boldly sequestered bandolin on which you play all the hymns on it, roundly condemned but as defiant as can be expected when playing that fucking bandolin. Clam duty suspended. And how can you sit, displuming that bandolin, howling the net pharmacy Optifast mission statement at the retractable starting block, voraciously tweaking the upturned clam adjustments as if that were, of itself, really the novel sovereignty fluting through this jive bunny of clamped down CGI bracken, this clause 4 of radically individuated seafood, this penial frosting, this section 28 of eclectic mixed unaligned armed motorcades, this sprung open crampon of undisputed world anti-logomena, spring unopened Atlantic jackknife of quicksand, delve into the tight web of historic streets that buzz with bars and restaurants. Paraffin-soaked heap of rotten underlay, greasy cheeseboard Lukács, this innovatively reimagined barn dance of moral fables is corrupted, broken off in the wound when it might have been disgorged to make restitution of this spin cycle of swarfiga and piss, which is a forestry commission of negativity with the chair strung up in the playpen, cancelled stubs shooting from the top hat in a gloriole of pulverised Viagra. The meat hook rests on the empty hutch. But that hutch cauterised against the frost, so you wake up at work, and what is that tearing into the fence? Is it Goethe's own puppet show mnemonic sprawled across the wigwam? I admit the question mark, but I leak preposterously over the tarmac and wink like an arsehole on the forecourt. Hinges are bust, inevitably. What do you want from me or anyone? Split an enemy cut out from the packing foam, tremble, quiddity, velocity, gut. Pretend to pull the rope that opens the theatre curtain. Across the opening of the hutch, the flag trace. Under the hanger, the car keys. Under the pavement, the improvised napalm. Curtain drawn back, the broken rabbit, driven out by agues, spent and half crazy, astonishing fevers of love sickness and malaria, claws project from furry knuckles into the beyond. But do you play all the hymns on it? Or do you rather just sit around in the lumber garret gawping at the woodpile? And do you see what's inside? I mean really inside. The clam. And what comes out of the clam. Your competitors. Your substitutes. Catch me. I shoot from the clam like a crepe, and suspended over the frozen swamp that rings the hutch, I roll out the opening scenes from the quivering chowder basin where rise the several wet hinges on the wing. Flips open. Catch me, and in clouded vision disperse me, out the mouthpiece like vapour into the distant hutch in the cable car. So near as the spoilt ballots that spray from the clam. So far as the rashly drafted redemption fodder in the proportionate lava flow that ignites the bandolin. So enclosed as pseudo-feces by mucus in the rent mantle cavity. So gone as really back through the chicken wire into the hutch. And possessed. So clam-possessed as the cliff by steepness, the distance by the air between, the galvanised support poles by the affordable enclosure netting. The silage shot over the grain solo by the clam illumes the bright thermo-encapsulated base, and you dimly discern the death mask of the rabbit in the still spinning saucer of ice that you kick from the frozen bucket into the orchestra pit. And remote. So remote as counter-transference from the hutch at its real imbricated apex when the silage freezes into Garundic streaks over the cliff edge. But are you in the lumber garrison? What now? And if the sequence could be inhaled whole and blown back into the waiting mouth, what then? In the total barn dance, I collapsed the orchard. In the full flush of sporting abandon, hang on, are you looking at the woodpile now? What? Etc. and on, likewise, to the paralogue, to the paradisal light that envelops the ventriloquized carjack as it drops from the clapping mouth into the sediment, fenced around and inflamed by lightning's devastation, in reverse to the Goethe house, tossing scallops at the red clavichord in total stupefaction like the rabbit on prom night. Or spaced out in a real TB fix of conspicuous consumption, pushed off, really flung down, exiled from hell's crew into the spatial turnover, whip foam number 8, number B, low frame tube with foam clamp number B, renunciation of the will for the snapping soteriological buckle, number H to the true cap number C, number A to the screw cover number F, number G to the lock nut number E, screw over the cover, over the puppet, Number F, tube with kidneys, a heart, a mouth. Number D, and an anus but no eyes. Number A, upper frame tube with foam, scallops being an exception. Number B, lower frame tube with foam and clamp, a dented line on the vertical leg extension with but low cover. Number F, screw covered, the screw to the facing in the rectangular hole of the clamp, the end of the rope to the rope, emotional the end of the rope to the last V-ring it reaches, and what it reaches is only the melting point of stupefaction salvation. Puppets scream at the wigwam. But what is the real stupefaction at the top of the net curtain twitching in flames around the trampoline? From the end of the rope to the last V-ring, it is possession. Secure it with number D screw and number E lock nut. Push the pole completely through the top of the net. You calm up or clam down, whichever, stupidly, round and round the reservation, a crack, the detonator in mouth, fingers, jaw off, bundle up. Where are you? What now? The cup of consolation in the glass divide concealing the car keys. A life of contemplation on the artificial oyster bed ruined by the trampoline enclosure that shoots from the clam, by the second talking carjack vaulting into the swamp and bouncing off the gong into the orchestra pit, by the net gun in its jury-rigged air tank, by the comet's tail that whips back into the hutch like a tongue mirage of corpuscular radiation, by the union official that flops out of the clam like a doormat, by your own pig-headed and totally fucking leper-owned refusal to see, really see, what comes out of the clam, and the patterns of virtue in the wood chip. The chips are trapped inside the wallpaper rather than on the surface like some cheap retail wood chips. But what value that assurance cannot eliminate need, can't. The tuning peg is corpuscle tight. The string across the allocation window, the nearby streets levitate through the open my mouth to the playpen, to the human hutch torched, to the llama's untethered soul bouncing along the concrete fence posts that encircle the orchestra pit. To I wake up. What I possess seems far away from me. It's easy to cast a jaded eye over the throttled llama while his untethered soul, fence post, etc. Tier on tier entire. But what about after the re-entry? And what is gone? What now? Then when? What now? Then when? And what is gone? And this is one called a plus sign, which follows on from it. Plus sign. I don't, with its stiff upper body tensile brackets which enclose in a carapace the hidden source of the screaming anterior foot retractor, which with its last loved shade forces a spastic shiver from your anterior adductor muscle, away from the centre of spirit, to the husk that can opener is early and not a plus. Is shellfish you prize open, your tongue in the warm, in the warm auricle, should hinge shut the carapace for a while. While looking at the hinge retract and the cuticle sequestration hurls incandescent spines at the mangle, that can opener is late. The lobster crackers are late and are not a plus. But can you let the meat alone? Let the clam alone? Let the light switch alone? The magic breezes alone? the adherent inner layer clings to the mantle. Excurrent siphon. Incurrent siphon. Excurrent siphon. Incurrent siphon. Excurrent siphon. Spin away from the plate.
Okay, there will now be a 12-minute break before we come back to the next act.
It's a vase. Yeah, but what kind of vase? Pale, pasty, psychotic.